Do you ever go to the mall and see those displays of artwork put out by local high school students? And you walk around and you see these great pictures of charcoal and wonderful colors, and you think, by golly, these are some real artists here. But of course, they're not artists, they're students. But they are artists because we live in a society where there is no second best and there are no losers. So they're artists. But they're not making any money off of their paintings, really. Well, I mean, of course, they could go down to the local farmers market on the weekend and maybe sell a few copies and make a few bucks, but they're not making a living off of their art. And we know this because we had to account for that place right across the atrium in the mall that's selling those expensive oil paintings for about $2,500 a pop. Now, those guys are making a living off of their art, and we call them professional artists, right? So we've got artists and we've got professional artists. Now, why does this matter? Well, because you're a writer, right? That's the reason you're here. You're a writer, and anybody can call themselves that. I'm a professional writer, and I can say that because I've been making my living from writing alone for the past year and a half. So I'd like to say I'm a professional writer. Now, you can be a writer, and you can put all of your stuff in a box in the drawer and forget about it, or you can put your stuff up on Amazon, but what's the point if you're not making any money off of that, right? Isn't that what you want? And everybody can say that, well, it doesn't really matter. I just want to be a writer and I just want to have my stuff out there, and that's great. But then why are you going around trying to sell your book all the time? So that's the thing. So today I want to do a little video post here about 10 reasons why you're not selling any ebooks. Okay, and I don't know, I'm not very qualified to do this because I don't sell that many ebooks myself, but I know some of you who are struggling out there who are selling maybe 5 or 6 copies a month, maybe 1 or 2. Maybe you have a whole month where you sell not even a single copy of a book. You know, you see that dreaded brown line the whole month on Amazon. Boy, that must be frustrating. I've never had that happen. I've had some pretty bad months before. I think the lowest I had was maybe 12 sales in one month, and I think the highest month I ever had was maybe 150 or 158 or something like that. So, I mean, I'm not a huge big seller, but I make some money. But mainly, those 135,000 words I wrote last month, a good portion of those are words that I'm writing for other people, and those are direct for-profit words that I'm making money off of, 500, 600 bucks a pop, or for whatever project I'm working on, whether it's an ebook or articles or whatever. So I can make money doing that. But I guess if you're a regular writer or an artist, you don't want to compromise your principle and write for money, but that's exactly what you're trying to do. It gets confusing, right? So I don't know. But I do know that I have this list today that I wrote up here about 10 reasons why you might not be selling any ebooks, and I thought it'd be fun to go over that today, mainly for me, so I don't have to write it all down. Now, number 1 is cover. That's a pretty standard one. Okay, let's say you got a crappy cover, and you can go dig up some old posts on my site about the kind of crappy covers I have, and I still have some crappy covers. And those books don't sell that well, and so that's the bottom line. I'm thinking about spending a few $100 on getting some good art here, so I can get some of my books maybe to sell better. So cover is one of the main things you might want to think about if you're not selling any ebooks. And if your cousin Donnie over in Detroit made your ebook cover with his software at home because he took an art class at the Adult Learning Center on the weekends for 2 Saturdays in April, I don't think that's going to do it for you. If you want to be a professional writer, in my opinion. Okay, that's just my opinion. Let's move on down to number 2 here, and that's writing. This is a very important part of an ebook, is the writing. But you'll believe it or not, a lot of books are not that well written, and I wouldn't be surprised by this because a lot of people can't write. Just like those pictures you're looking at in the mall, right? You see some really great charcoal ones that you think you take out some money and you give them 20 bucks right there for the damn thing. And there's other ones you're like, gee whiz, I seen that girl over in the 5-year-old class at school who was doing something better than that. So I don't know. It's the same way with the books on Amazon, and you can go and look inside on there, and you can see some just horrendous writing. And this can't be blamed because maybe it's their first book and they're putting it out there, and it's just not that good yet, or never was that good. Maybe it needs real polishing. Who knows? Writing is very important. Maybe that's why you're not selling your ebooks, because the writing is bad. I guess you need to practice more. Now let's get to number 3 on the list, and that's editing. What if you wrote 130,000 word epic fantasy book, and you're not going to scrap that because you got pride. So you're not going to throw that away, but you can get some editing, and that's number 3 on our list. And if you got some money to burn, you can get some editing. If you don't have money to burn, you can probably still get some editing. maybe with some internet footwork and getting some trade deals going on, like I'll beta read. How about some beta readers, right? Get some people, get your family and friends to read it. That's what they always say. I don't know. Or else you know what? Print the damn thing out, read it out loud, do all these other tips and tricks you can find out there on the internet to make sure that you edit it, self-edit it as best as you possibly can to get it out there. I've done that many times, and I will tell you that ordering a copy of the Create Space book, if you have a print copy, and reading through it on your chair one afternoon with a pen and marking through it will allow you to find quite a few typos you probably missed, and you can do the same thing with your printer if it doesn't have a crappy black line going through the middle of the page like mine does. Okay, number 4 on our list is blurb. This is the product description on Amazon, the blurb they call it. It's the kind of like the thing you would read on the back of the book at the bookstore. And you have to have a good one of those. There's books out there like the Blurbomatic that tell you how to write blurbs, tell you what kind of special words to throw in there, what kind of keywords you might want to put in there to get picked up by Amazon. So you're getting some SEO in there, and maybe you want to get some people to look at that too to make sure you get a good blurb, because a lot of people write their own blurbs like I do, and they're shit. A lot of my blurbs aren't very good. I don't like writing them. I usually, it's one of the last things I do before hitting publish, where I just want to get the damn thing done and get out the door. I don't know, play around with it. I got blurbs that are a couple sentences. I got some that take up the whole 3,000 words that they give you. I don't know. Look inside. Let's move on to number 5 on the list, look inside. This is the portion of Amazon book where if you go to Amazon and you click on the book cover, it will give you the first 10% or 5% or whatever, how many pages of that book based upon the book's overall length. That means any potential reader can read the first chapter of your book for free. Maybe I got my fantasy book out there, it's 150,000 words. Those people can read the first 3 chapters, which I think is maybe 30 to 40 pages. It's all on the look inside. And if somebody is really, really serious about buying that book and it's $4.99, or maybe it's one of my $7.99 books, maybe they'll read that whole look inside, and if they find even one typo, there, no, who knows, they might not buy that book just because of that. So this is your real potential as an author, if you do not want to spend a lot of money on editing yourself, is to make sure that look inside is as clean as it possibly can be and as well written as it can possibly be. If you got a 150,000 word book and you don't want to go through the whole damn thing again for the umpteenth time, make sure you get those first 30 pages polished up as best you can. Go through them an extra couple times, because it might get you a few of those sales. And maybe the rest of it's shit, and the reader gets through it. I think the chances of them returning it are much lower, so maybe you can get off. But anyways, it's kind of sketchy. What we call those 3 things together, the cover, the blurb, and the look inside, are the three-legged stool, your three-legged marketing stool on Amazon. That's probably the most important thing for you selling your book. So you probably want to invest some money in it. Number 6 on my list is free. Okay, now free, I'm not talking about Amazon KDP free days where you give the book away 5 days once every quarter, once every 90 days. I'm not talking about that, because I think that's totally ineffective, because that gets you a bump on the charts and you get your book away to a lot of free people for a week, and then, oh wow, holy cow, it's a big party in the sky for a week, and then they forget about it. I think your best strategy if you want to do free is to do perma-free, and the only reason to do that is if you have a series of 3 books or more, preferably more now, and you put the first one for free and you make it permanently free across all retailers, including Amazon. You got to get Amazon to price match it to free, and you got to keep it that way for a sustained amount of time. Now you might drop down to a handful of sales each month on your perma-free, but as long as those books 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever keep selling, you know that perma-free is doing its job, because nobody would be buying books 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 if they weren't reading book 1. And the only reason they're reading book 1 is because they read it and they got it for free, right? I think the chances of them getting book free are a lot lower if it was paid, and the chances of them getting books 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 are a whole lot lower if they never get book 1. And it just makes sense to me. And the more books you have, you should definitely have a perma-free, at least 1. I have 2 to 3, and I mean, it's good marketing for a series only. If you're a 1-book author and you want to give a perm, that makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, let's move down to the social media, number 7. Now you have to be doing some kind of social media if you want people to know about your book, because they can't buy your book if they don't know it exists. Now, what is social media today? That includes things like Google Plus, Twitter, Facebook. Those are your main three things. You got some other ones like Pinterest and some things like that stumbled upon. And those can all get you some extra traffic. Mainly, if you are doing social media, you got to go around to a lot of different groups upon your particular platform. So if you're in Facebook, you got to find a lot of different groups for your genre of books. Let's say you're writing thrillers, you got to go find a lot of thriller groups, a lot of serial killer fan groups, things like that, and post your book occasionally, not all the time. Got to find other groups of writers, go in there and post your books on free days, things like that. Same thing with Google Plus. Now that's great. That'll drive the traffic to that book page on Amazon, maybe get you some sales. But if you want long-term continual exposure, you got to get down to number 8 on our list, and that's a website. You have to have a website, and ideally, you're driving most of your traffic back to that website and to that books page on your website, not just the product page on Amazon. Now, why would you do that? Maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense to people why you would throw in that extra step there, that middleman, you, the website. Why are you, if let's say you're pulling that traffic in from social media, why are you directing that traffic from Facebook back to your website if you want them to go to Amazon? It seems like you're making a continuous loop circle here that makes no sense. Well, I think it's because you need to have your book page on your website really keyed up great so they get interested, so they can see it there. They can link back to Amazon from there. Also, I think you need to have it where you're getting more traffic to your website through those social media outlets, so you go up in the rankings on the search engines and also most social media platforms' own ranking algorithms. Because if you can do those things, you're going to be driving up more traffic to particular keywords that people type into the search engines overall for that particular book or that genre, thrillers, right? Also, Amazon's going to start kicking you up too, because I bet after a while you're going to be doing this and you're going to be doing the same thing I am. You're going to be directing traffic to your website as well as the retailers, and they're going to start figuring out that these two things, Greg Stramberg and whatever your keyword for that book, your name, whatever, are two interconnected things. I don't know. We're getting into math and complex stuff here. Get a website. Let's move on to number 9, support. What does this mean, support? Let's say you're an author, you need help, right? Well, who are you going to get help from? First of all, you can try to get some help from your family and friends to get some initial sales to help sell your book. That'll help you in the first couple months. That's not going to help you get past that rut you're in right now of only getting 5 or 6 or 7 sales a month. You need to get support from other authors, and a good way of doing that is getting into some kind of box set thing. Lindsay Burko has some really good stuff on her website about this, about any kind of authors, even the worst authors in the world with the worst spelling, the worst grammar mistakes, the worst possible covers you can imagine. They can all band together, 10 of them, and give away one of their books, a portion of their book if they only have one, in a huge 10-volume box set that allows them to gain all kinds of exposure, boost up on the Amazon rankings. And who cares if this box set, multi-author box set, gets a shit ton of bad reviews, because you're getting all kinds of exposures. People, if they like one story, maybe those other authors are shit, but they get back to your page. I don't know. It's just you're getting more exposure. So that's one way you can get some support. Writer groups. Go waste 28 million hours on Kindle boards, on keyboards. You will learn a lot of stuff and you'll waste a lot of time, and you'll get a lot of support. You'll meet a lot of other authors that are not selling books, and you can commiserate and complain, and that will help you. You do the same thing on the Amazon forum, writing groups, and Google Plus. They have all kinds of stuff. Go and complain, and that way you can really decrease your output in words. But at least maybe you need to decrease your output in words and learn some stuff about writing. I don't know. These are all ways you can get support. That might slow you down in your output, but it's a way to gain influence and authority and exposure. Okay, now let's get to number 10 on our list. The last thing here is called writing. Again, I'm going to put this on the list twice, writing, because it's so important. If you want to write a book, it has to be good writing, interesting. And I made a note on this list here. I said story. Some of the worst books in the world, the most poorly written, just dross on the street, bilge water, all kinds of weird grammar. Maybe it doesn't have any typos, but it's just crap. It's like a foreigner wrote it, not his first language is in English. It's just rubbish. But by God, it's got a great story. They go to space and they fall in love, and they're crashing to Earth, and just at the last minute, everything works out, and holy cow, we're making a movie. This is what I'm talking about. If you got a good story, it doesn't really matter how bad of a writer you are, you got to have a good story. And that's what I guess I'm getting at with number 10 writing here, is really you need a good story. And I talk to so many people that pay me to help them write their books, or pay me to write their books, or whatever. And sometimes they have really good stories. Sometimes it can pull you in, but it's often it's like a guy drifting down to the bottom of the water with bricks tied to his feet. He's sinking down because there's so much crap on here still. The worst is when you try to open your book with like I don't know, history. I've done this with my first book before I go back. I know you want to introduce your reader to the world because it's such a great world, but you don't want to tell them about the king 5 kings ago and how his son died and his wife took over, and then after that these counselors came in, and then that other kingdom came in. I mean, shit. You want to tell me about how the guy got stabbed in the heart, and then the other guy's blood was everywhere, and holy shit, the young teen, oh, they love it, and we're making the movie. You got to pull me in, and that's what story's about. And if you can pull me in with that look inside, gee whiz, that's a big part of that three-legged marketing stool. And you got to pull me in with that story, and you got to get me to buy that book. So I've been talking 15 minutes here, and I'm not going to waste any more of your time today. But I want you to think about that. And that's one of the main differences between you not selling books and you selling books, and you being a professional writer and a writer, and those kids at the high school and those guys selling the art for $2,500 a pop. Okay, think about that. Have a good day.